Well, happy Sunday, I guess you could say. It's the Bet Alliance of the Detroit podcast. It's another not so victorious Sunday.
Just call these bloody Sundays now.
I guess so. Our
Sunday, bloody
playoff
Sunday.
our playoff hopes are officially over. We called it though. We're not a playoff team. And we don't have to worry about going to playoff team. Our goal now is Rose Bowl, hopefully New Year's 6. It's kind of funny because I was kind of scrolling through our YouTube reels and it was a clip of me saying we need to get better and there's a lot of stuff we need to fix because when November comes, man, we're going to go through a grinder, right? And then back earlier, I was like, our first test is going to be Utah. And then our last podcast, I said, one thing Utah is going to come in and do is they're going to be tough as nails. I was wrong on one thing is just the fact that our grinder starts now, and it's the end of October. I was a couple of weeks off. Last night, I will say this about last night. The defense played better. The defense played like they had a chip on their shoulder. Those dudes are flying around. Those dudes are playing like they had something to prove. And I am 100% happy with the effort that came from the defense. The offense was a little the first couple of drives, what was it? 5 drives, touchdown. Another one was a couple like 6 drives and a touchdown. Offense, the first couple of drives was excellent, right? And it kind of stalled, and it stalled on both ends. And that happens, right? And we always say there's going to be games where, in fact, this game, we didn't even need Caleb. Technically, we didn't need Caleb. If we would have kept running the ball, we would have been dominant. Like 200 yards in this game for Caleb would have been perfect. He had, what was he? Let me look it up right. I was just looking at it. He was 24 for 34. I think the 34 attempts is a little bit too high for a game, for that game last night. You know what I mean? Man, I am so disappointed I'm so disappointed of Lincoln Riley's like stubborn. I'm so disappointed by Alex Grinch. Ryan, I sent you guys a text and I said, you guys keep the questions coming in and we'll get to them. But I sent you guys a text in the group chat yesterday. I said, this drive right here tells the story of USC's defense, changes the stories for USD defense for the rest of the year. And they did excellent. They were doing good. That roughing the passer call, it is what it is. And like I was watching the game with my wife and my son, and I told him, how do you change that? Like, how do you ask the suits? How does a guy who's 300 pounds, who's jumping, changes his centrifugal force in the air and not hit the quarterback? Nobody has the answer for it, but they have a penalty for it. You know what I mean? And things like that happen. I'm not going to knock Bear Alexander's effort. The thing I am going to knock is I don't think that was targeting, and I don't think we should lose them for the first half of next week's game. That call was suspect. I think what Utah did, I mean, it was gamesmanship, but I think it was a little low on the class bar by jogging the player on and jogging the player off. Like, but you can't knock it, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, the defense played well up to certain points. There's some things that you have to question, right? You're on second and 5, and you're running a 5-man box, right? How do you run a 5-man box on 2nd and 5? It is a running down. It's not even in between. 6 and 7 in between, I get it. You don't know what you're going to do. But it's legit 2nd and 5. They're going to run the ball. No wonder you give up the first down. It's 4th down. They motion it empty. They have no check to motion it empty, and they leave the guy wide open. They get the first down. That's not on the players. Did you see what's tall dude's name, Ryan? 18. I keep forgetting his name. Gentry. Gentry got up and he was pissed. He's like, what are we doing? Right? And then to put the cake topper, because me and Jamal were just talking about a wedding. So Jamal, to put the cake topper on top of the wedding cake, right? We just have 3 tiers of mess up. To put the cake topper on top of the wedding cake, you're on 3rd and 10, 36, excuse me. It's 3rd and 6. And you're on your 40-yard line, right? And you have them outside of field goal range. They're outside of field goal range. All you need to do is get 2 stops. You need 2 stops. That's it. and you run man, and they run a 7-man route. Everybody's covering somebody, and the quarterback just took the ball, ran it, and slid. At the end of the day, it's not the players. And we're going to go back to this. And I'm going to keep going back to this. It's not the players, right? It's at this point, it is the coaching, right? And then we just read the tweet. The scariest quote that I ever heard in my life from a coach who it's either that he doesn't understand what's going on or he's naive. This program has championship expectations. We're not going anywhere. We signed up to be here for a long time. That came from Coach Riley. I mean, how do we change it, right? How do we change it? This game should have been. It might have only been 1 by 3. They might have not covered, but we should have walked out. We should be here today saying, "Man, we've escaped that one." For the most part, I will say this: that was a cleaner fourth quarter than we've seen them play in a long time. Caleb had the blunder with the fumble. Things happen. I can't get upset about him about that. But why did we stop running the ball? That should have been the main question in the press conference yesterday. Why do you stop running the ball? You had 100+ yards at the half against the number 1 defense in the Pac-12. You were able to run the ball on them. Why are we stop running the ball? There's a lot of questions I just don't understand. And I mean, what do you guys? I'm just saying all. What do you guys have to say about this? One of you guys could take it away, and then we'll hop to the questions.
Uriah, I'll let you start.
I mean, I don't really know where it's hard to say where the state of this program is. It's weird. Here we are, 6-2, 8 games in, and this program feels worse than last year. I mean, there's been a definite regression. Last year it was 4 stops, right? That was the theme. Defense just get 4 stops. We know what they are. We know they're not good. Get us 4 stops. We know the offense is going to ball out. Well, now the defense at times looks a little more competent. They're still not good in clutch, but the offense has regressed mightily. I mean, 2 touchdowns on the first 2 drives, 5 straight punts and a fumble were the next 6 possessions with the half sprinkled in there. And, Utah's defense is the 9th ranked defense, the best in the Pac-12. So give them some credit, but the offense, we could sit here and talk defense all we want. It is what it is. We know what this defense is. I mean, it's just not a good overall defense. So we shouldn't be sitting here surprised that they lost the game in that manner. I don't think, because you could see it coming from a mile away. I do agree with you. The effort was there, but it is what it is. But to me, the concern is the offense that has continually regressed. And I look at, it's football sometimes comes down to singular plays, especially in a 2-point loss or victory. And, we could look at the targeting call as being a huge game changer. But to me, you have the ball in Caleb's hands. You have 2 2-point conversion opportunities. You hit either of those, you're up by 3. You hit both, it's a touchdown to win. You hit those 2-point conversions, they're sitting in victory lane. And I didn't love the play calls on those.
I didn't either.
So to me, I hate just sitting here on Sundays playing blame pie, but the offense has regressed so mightily that you can't rely anymore on the offense. And yeah, they came through in the clutch in the end, but outside of a pick 6 and a Zachariah Branch punt return, I mean, they still only put up 10 points in the second half offensively. So I don't think I see comments, and we'll get to them. I don't think guys are checked out. I don't think we'll have to dissect more and look at some more film, but it's just not there right now.
Yeah, Ryan, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, this was pathetic offense and pathetic defense. I think let's just sort of break that down first. I mean, on the defensive side, to give up 482 yards of total offense to a 3rd-string quarterback and a converted strong safety who's playing running back. I mean, they had 2 guys last night, and we talked about it all week. It was going to be Vaki, and it was going to be Quinten Jackson. And I said, I think Utah's probably going to run 50 times. and they didn't run 50 times, but they gave those two guys a combined 50 touches just about. And so
they ran 47, Jamal. So
They ran
47. And then with the 9 catches with Vaki, it was 56 touches between those two guys. I mean, it was absolutely unreal. You knew they had 2 players, and you couldn't stop it. You couldn't stop a nosebleed over the course of that game. The only reason we're sort of talking about that targeting play, or we're talking about the 2-point conversions, which, by the way, I'm not even really concerned about the play call in the 2-point conversion. I was concerned about the decision making to go for it on 2. If you just take the 2 extra points, you're still tied. The game's going into overtime. Where I'm concerned is the fact that this was a blowout. I mean, if it wasn't for a Calen Bullock pick 6 and kind of a fluke punt return there by Branch, this is a double-digit loss at home, where this team probably scores, Ryan, to your point, they had 6 points after the first 2 drives of this game. What was so puzzling also now on the offensive side of the ball is, Alfred, to your point, to go 96 yards rushing over the course of the first 2 drives. And you had Marshawn, Lloyd, Roland. You were running that zone stretch play. You found Tahj Washington off of play action. And then 6 drives where it's 4 punts, the end of the half, and the fumble. And you go from 96 yards rushing over the first 2 drives to 51 yards rushing total the rest of the game, which includes 12 yards from Caleb on that scramble. So the bulk of that game, you have 39 yards rushing. And it's just the book, yet again, is playing out here. Jed Fish has ruined USC season. It's rush with 4. Utah was able to get penetration with 4 after that second drive. And receivers can't get separation. This notion that Brenden Rice is somehow some elite receiver is a complete joke. He's an average receiver. Tahj is sort of a gadget slot guy who will go deep every once in a while. The receivers can't get any separation. And so you are allowed to drop back 7. There's really no passing lanes there. You have to be able to run the ball, even if it's 2nd and 7, even if it's 2nd and 8. And I get it. There were some moments on those 6 drives where there was a bubble screen for a loss, or there was a false start, or there was a loss on the play, and you're 1st and 15, or you're 2nd and 11, or you're 3rd and 8. And so there's these moments where you're like, it's taken the running game out of the equation for this particular drive. But at some point, you have to be able to run the ball to even just create 3rd and short, 4th and short opportunities. But Ryan, I think you said it best. This is a regression. This team is worse offensively. They're just as bad defensively as they were last year. There was at least some sense of identity last year. And again, it's the thing I've been saying since the start of the season. They're deeper, but are they better? At the end of the day, they don't have a receiver nowhere near as good as Jordan Addison. They don't have a defensive player as good as Tui Pelotu. They've got 4 or 5 guys who are better than a 4 or 5 core of last year, but none of those guys are sort of performing to the level Tui Pelotu is. And up until the pick 6 with Calen Bullock, he sort of had disappeared for most of this season. So where you go from here is an absolute question moving forward, especially with Oregon, Washington, and UCLA still on the schedule.
I'm going to start with this question right here. This is becoming a joke. Took L to a team that had a QB who was a former walk-on pig farmer. And let's let a converted safety go crazy on offense. When is Lincoln going to take accountability? Rocket is a dud. What's Rocket? So I'm going to hide this because it's kind of in our face. I don't know what Rocket is, but I'm going to address this right now. And everybody, I'm going to address everybody who mentioned that he's working at Lowe's. He's a walk-on, third-string quarterback, this and that. Baker Mayfield, walk-on quarterback. Will we take Baker Mayfield as a quarterback? Absolutely. There's a bunch of walk-on guys who just get overlooked in recruiting that end up being really good. This kid has the potential of being really good. I'm not going to take anything away from his talent, right? The quarterback is going to be good. He's only, a freshman, right?
No, he's 3rd year.
He's a 3rd year. So, I mean, he has the opportunity.
Fred, the one thing I will say, and I'm never going to diminish anyone's talent, on an opposing team. That kid played his heart out. Okay, yeah. And that scramble, we can talk about defensive schematics all day long. He wanted it more than the 11 guys on USC. I mean, to be able to make that scramble down the right sideline, there were guys who had an opportunity to get him, dive for him, trip him, do whatever you got to do to sort of stop him, even take a penalty. He wanted it more. It was tremendous heart. But having said that, over the course of 3 years at Utah, his career high was 175 yards passing. And last night, with no receivers, he had 235 yards passing. He a guy who never had a career 200-yard game, and you don't even give him any receivers, and you don't even give him their all Pac-12 tight end in Keithy, and all he has is a converted strong safety to throw to out of the flat on wheel routes and on inside slants, what the Niners run with McCaffrey all day long. That was his only option, and a little shovel pass to some jet sweep guys. He had 235 yards. So
I will tell you this,
at
Jamal.
the end of the day, Fred, we can talk about, one play scheme here and one play scheme there. This is a systemic problem, this defense. And it's getting to the point where every week we're giving a guy a career game. I mean, you go from Dalton Kincaid last year to Spears with Tulane, the QB of San Jose State. You look at Cowing. You look at Fafita. You look at the freshman wide receiver of Colorado. Now you look at Vaki. Every week, somebody's getting a career game off of the USC Trojans, and then those guys kind of disappear the rest of the season. So we can talk about scheme all we want on a play here and a play there, but this is more than just scheme. This is a systemic problem. This is a cultural problem with this defense, and now this cultural problem is spilling into the offense.
I will say this. So on that first touchdown, they have the linebacker playing run and pass, right? So he's reading run first, and Vahi's already not Vahi, but what's his name? The running back, the safety.
Yeah, it was Vaki. You're talking about that wheel route on that first touchdown?
Vaki's already taken off, and the dude's like, oh, snaps, I got to go cover him too. Like, that's what I always go to. Like, they're not putting their players in the best situation possible to win. You have him playing run and covering pass, and before you know it, oh, I got to go cover this. Other than that, he was wide open. And then they went back to it and didn't make the adjustment and ran the same thing. Like, that's not the player. You know what I mean? That's not the player. That is a scheme, right? And it's the problem is I feel like it's not being corrected. It's not being corrected at a high level. If you guys are my boss and I am doing something wrong, you're going to call me into my office, or you're going to call me into your office and tell me to make the corrections. If I don't make the corrections, I'm fired. Regardless of friendship or anything, that's the issue there. Like, I understand that you're saying systematic, but they're not putting their players in the best position possible to win. Constantly, we were running the ball down Utah's throat, and we stopped. We just abandoned the run. We didn't need Caleb. Like I was telling you last night, like, we didn't need Caleb last night, right? We didn't need Caleb.
It's a good thing we didn't need him because we didn't get him. I mean, he didn't do anything.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can sit here and talk. Oh, hang on, Fred. Hang on. At the end of the day, you can, you're powdering his butt. You guys have been powdering this team's butt the whole season. And now it's time to pay up, because at the end of the day, it's 3rd and 4. Okay, I get it. You should be able to run the ball there. I understand that. But you don't even give him he doesn't even give the team an opportunity to throw the ball. The ball just slips out of his hands. And mind you, if Utah doesn't recover right there, I mean, it went right through the D lineman. The game's over right there. So the fact that we're even talking about this last drive and what could have happened and what should have happened on this last drive is a complete joke, because the SC was lucky that it even went to the last drive. I mean, where has Caleb Williams been the last 3 games? I mean, and we're sitting here and talking about, well, he didn't have it as a passer against Arizona. So, he was great. I mean, he was just sublime as a rusher. Yeah, 41 yards rushing. Okay, fine. Sublime rusher. Then where was he last week against Notre Dame? 3 interceptions where he panicked in the pocket. Where was he this week? Tell me about that ball to Branch. That ball to Branch was 10 feet over his head. Tell me about that ball to Deuce Robinson that was behind him. Tell me about the second ball to Deuce Robinson that was another 10 feet over his head. Where is he throwing the ball? Everything. He's 24 for 34 because he's checking the ball down. Where is the downfield accuracy that we saw earlier in the year? He's regressed.
No, 100%, and I don't disagree. He's had a. That's why I asked: Is this what we're expecting from Caleb, or does he recover? But what I'm saying, as far as game scheme wise, right? As far as going through the game, Caleb, we didn't need him to throw 34 passes. There was no reason for him to throw 34 passes last night, because we were running the ball down his throat. This should have been the least productive game out of Caleb Williams last night that in his whole career. And at the end of the story should have been, well, Caleb really didn't do anything, but Marshawn, Lloyd, and Austin Jones ran for 250 yards total. You get what I'm saying? Like, it was one of those. That's when I say we don't need Caleb. I'm saying, like, there was no reason for Caleb to have 34 pass attempts last night. Like, we should have just been smashing the ball right down their throat, and we just stopped against the top
I'll tell you,
defense
Fred,
in the Pac-12.
It's a great point, and I think this kind of speaks a little bit to Lincoln Riley got spooked. And I'll tell you where he got spooked. There were 2 moments in the game where he got spooked. It was the 3rd possession after the 2 straight touchdowns. If you recall, end of the first quarter, 3rd and 2. He went keeper with Caleb, and Caleb got stuffed right at the line. And the moment that play happened, it sort of changed the game in Lincoln Riley's mind, where he felt like he couldn't run the ball. And then they didn't run the ball for 3 or 4 straight drives. And then the next moment where he got spooked was midway through the 3rd quarter, down 21-14. Utah had just made SC go 3 and out, punched it in, and then that option to Marshawn Lloyd, and on a very kind of delicate hit, he coughs it up. And then Utah comes back and makes it 28-14. And then I think, again, Lincoln Riley went into the mindset where it's like, I can't run the ball. And so he got spooked on 2 different occasions of this game. And ultimately, it made SC very, very one-dimensional, and it allowed yet again a team to drop back 7 and be able to cover up these passing windows.
Yeah, right. And so, like, I don't want you to get me confused. Like, oh, like I was praising Caleb Williams. What I'm saying is, like, last night should have been Caleb's lowest production game in his career at USC and Oklahoma. You get what I'm saying? Like, we should have ran the ball for almost 300 yards last night. Let's get to some of these questions. I saw a good one, right here. So, John Pitts, I think the linebackers are totally confused. They don't know where to go. And this is something that we've talked about multiple times, right? Like, the defense is too complex. They're struggling to line up. They don't know who to cover. They don't know what to do. They motion. If you want to beat USC's defense, if you want to get them completely messed up, I'll give you right now. Go to old school Bob Toledo. And Jamal, I know you know Bob Toledo growing up watching
very well.
UCLA. Yeah. Shift, motion, shift again, motion, and run, run inside zone, and it's going to bust every time, because every time there's a motion, every time there's a shift, every time they go hurry up, the defense can't line up, because it's such a complex defense, and they're struggling to line up, right? So, like, it's not, man, it sucks, because, like, I don't think I know you don't agree with me, but I just want to see them play. I don't think they've played yet. And what I mean by play, like, just don't think and just play. You know what I mean?
And Fred, the other thing I'll say is, no, I agree. I agree with you here. I think he's got to tighten up the rotation. I mean, this notion, especially in the linebackers, in the linebacking room. I mean, you've got very credible linebackers here. It should basically exclusively be Jamil Muhammad, Romello Height, Cobb, and Gentry. I mean, there's really no reason anybody else should be playing at linebacker outside of those 4 guys, and you rotate them along. Look, you need a spot play here and there for a guy to get a breather, to just to kind of stay fresh in the second half. In the fourth quarter, fine. But 90% of the snaps at linebacker should be across those 4 players. And I still don't even really understand the linebacker rotation. And it's affecting a guy like Gentry in particular, who has been so injury prone the last 18 months that he had 2 tackles last night. I mean, he's not able to get in any sort of a rhythm without having the reps the last year and a half. And so they have to part of this confusion, Fred, that you're speaking of is there's too many guys in the rotation. They don't know their roles relative to this unit. So even beyond schematically, its rotation is another massive issue here.
Yeah, and so LV Raider 67, and this has been brought up too. Maybe Riley isn't a guy. Maybe he's overrated. I mean, that's starting to. I mean, I'm starting to agree with you guys. They're like, I've been on the Riley train. I'm not even gonna lie. I've been on the Riley train. I've been on the Caleb Williams train. I've been so optimistic for this team, right? And I think last week I finally said we were ahead of schedule, and maybe we were overlooking this thing. And the realization is that I don't think they want to win. Like, and when I say I don't think they want to win, I don't think national championship is the goal for this program. I legit think that USC wants to be the Penn State of the West. Win 10 games, compete in a big bowl game, get TV ratings, fill the stands up, and I think at this point they're truly happy with this. Our national championship expectations are a thing of the past. I think because we're so used to when teams are good at USC, they are supposed to win a national championship, that we expect that now. But I'm starting to believe that it's not. I don't understand how a head coach, you come out in a press conference and you're optimistic after that game. There's no way you could be optimistic after that game. I wouldn't be. I'm not optimistic. We're going to El Paso. We're not even going to the LA Bowl. We're going to El Paso. We're going to play in the Kellogg Sun Bowl. That's how good a team we are right now. You know what I mean? So that's the truth about it. Like all these New Year's Six bowls and all that. I apologize for saying that. I apologize for being optimistic. My eyes were open last night, and we are a before New Year's bowl team, and it is what it is. Great show, guys. I feel like this season was doomed when he retained Grinch. Grinch's terrible defense has now started to spill over into the offense. I think, and I'll let you guys comment on this too. I just think that, and Jamal said it too, I think that the book is out on how to stop Lincoln Riley. It's easy. You know what I mean? Like the book is out, and Lincoln Riley being an air raid guy, they get so stubborn and stuck in their ways that they don't want to change. They need to make change. Run the ball. You're proving you can run the ball. Just become a running team. So what do you guys think about that?
Right. I've been talking a lot. I'll let you go.
Ryan's enjoying the show.
One thing at this point, the expectation is, can we get to 8 wins? I think get rid of the Rose Bowl. Can we get to 8? I mean, you beat Cal, and then you got the gauntlet of Oregon, Washington, UCLA. Can you win even one of those? The only thing I'll add, because I think I just don't want to keep repeating things, but going back to Caleb Williams a little bit, is the worrisome thing about the regression. And I don't know if it's mental now or what, but there was a lot of plays, and like I have a nice bird's eye view from the press box where you can see kind of plays develop a little better. And I haven't even mentioned the offensive line. The offensive line played substantially better this week than they did last week. I mean, the offensive line, they made a rotation. They made a move from right guard to right tackle. Offensive line did their job overall, what they needed. And Caleb, I thought, held strong in the pocket, but there were some plays where, as Jamal mentioned, guys were open, he missed through them, and then had guys open and just didn't pull the trigger. I don't know if he was just nervous because of the 3 picks last week or what. And we saw some of those coverage sacks, but they weren't like, the coverage was good. I'm not saying it was great, but it's almost like we've gotten to the point now where unless the guy is 15 yards wide open, he doesn't want to throw it. Like there's none of these tight window throws where if a guy has a yard of separation, that's open. I mean, if you're the greatest quarterback in the nation, that's a throw you got to make. And there was a few times where Rice was over the middle or Tahj was over the middle and he just didn't pull the trigger, and it ends up, scrambling and tries to do something, either throws it away. So it doesn't get really talked about. But that was the only other thing I saw that I'll add is just, there are these moments where it's like, all right, these are quick hitters that you got to hit. And again, I would much rather see them run the ball, but there was opportunity there. Caleb just didn't take it. Yeah,
Ryan, I think that you said that best. And I saw a similar story there as you did. Everybody's talking about the fumble, Fred, on 3rd and 4, with him losing the ball. What people aren't talking about, who weren't there, is 2 plays earlier, Mario Williams was wide open in the end zone, and he just didn't go to him. He just missed him completely. He had underneath stuff basically a lot. I mean, there were probably a handful of times where he had some guys across the middle for an easy 7-8 yards, and he just didn't pull the trigger there, and anywhere from 7 to 12 yards. And I've said this now for a couple of weeks with you guys privately. I was like, Caleb throws to open guys. Penix throws guys open. There's a little bit of a difference there in terms of these two, and we'll get an opportunity to see both of those guys up close and personal. But back a little bit, Fred, on the Riley piece, it's something that we talked about earlier in the season. Look, at the end of the day, he is exceptional of beating up on inferior competition, running up the score, getting great stats, great numbers. 1-4, in bowl games. 0-3 in the CFP. He lost the Bedlam game to get into to even open the door for USC. 4-7 Him and Caleb are 4-7 in their last 11 games against top 25 competition. And now USC is 2-11 in their last 13 games against AP top 25 competition. So when he runs into a coach that is as good as him or better, and think about the guys over the last 2 years that he went up against, Marcus Freeman, Kyle Whittingham, the Tulane coach's name is I'm slipping from it, but I know he was in it. Willie Fritz, excellent coach over a 40-year career. Every time he runs into a coach that's as good as him, and it kind of becomes more of a coaching game, and the talent discrepancy goes away, USC is either in an absolute slog and it can go either way, or he loses. And so ultimately, when you start looking ahead of this schedule, forget about the teams. I mean, look at the coaches here that's coming up. Kalen DeBoer, Dan Lanning. And I'm not even going to say Chip Kelly. Who I'm going to say is DeAnton Lynn. And so, those are the three guys now that are just as good as coaches as Lincoln Riley is.
I would even say the head coach at Cal. The head coach at Cal's not a bad guy either. Like he's pretty legit too. So I'm gonna change our view to that. So that's way better. I'm sorry, guys. So the head, I can't think of his name. He was Justin Wilcox. Justin Wilcox is not a bad guy either. So you're right. And
Wilcox gave up 480 yards to Utah as well, though. So it's not too much credit.
I will say this, Jamal, the person you describe right now is James Franklin. Like the more we talk about it, the more we're becoming the Penn State of the West. So, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. GLBC, Marshawn Lloyd before that fumble was the best player on offense. The fact that Lincoln didn't see that and even went away from him is a bigger problem. It's in fact a problem. Like when you have a team like that that's statistically so good, right? Defensively, and you have them on their heels, you keep throwing punches until the punches no longer land, right? Until they fix it, you keep doing it, right? The old saying is, I'm going to keep doing it until they stop it. That's the old saying in coaching. They can't stop it. I'm going to keep doing it. And it happens against our defense. They keep doing the same thing, and we can't stop it. And so, I mean, Marshawn Lloyd made a mistake, and they just like yanked him. That tears a kid's spirit apart. You pull it aside like, hey, man, it's all right. You're going to make up for it. You know what I mean? You already scored a touchdown. You're going to make up for it. We're going to keep giving you the ball, and they just stop. Another thing I just want to – you're on 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1, like you said, Jamal, and you run the punt team out there. Go for it. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's a pass, but the reason why – they have the chant Big Balls Pete is because Pete Carroll will go for it. You know what I mean? Like, go for it. Like, like there was twice where it's like, all right, we got to go for it here. He runs the punt team out there. Like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
can I make one other point, Al, that's a little different, not necessarily about the game? And I think we'll get into it more tomorrow on our recap show, or we should.
Yeah.
So when leaving and going to the press conference, this was the most that I can remember. And obviously it's the biggest game at home so far this year. So it could be the same against Washington, but the most recruits and recruit families I've seen at the Collie this year.
They showed them on TV.
And so knowing all those recruits witnessed what happened last night, it's not a good thing for the program.
So I will play devil's advocate, right? And this is me being a high school senior, being recruited and watching bad play. My attitude was, I could come here and start over him. Like, this is a spot for me because I have a starting spot as a freshman. You know what I mean? So,
hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah. So, I could go and start over him. We had a bunch of questions up first. Now everybody saw each other in the
if
chat.
I can jump in a little bit, not on the recruiting. That was a great point, Ryan. I just want to see more accountability. What I'm concerned about moving forward is this lack of accountability with both Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley. And what really upset me yesterday to hear is Lincoln Riley talking about the championship expectations have gotten away from us. And I don't know where that narrative came from, but I have to sort of rein it back. This is the same guy who in the opening press conference at the top of the call, he said this is going to become the mecca of college football on the West Coast. And when Bill Plaschke asked him flat out the question, how soon do you think you can compete for championships? He said, right away. Our expectation is to compete for championships right away. And so now last night when he comes and says, I don't know where this noise came from and this narrative came from, you created the noise. It was on you. And so if you say these things to sort of generate, whether it was buzz or hype, and you didn't really believe in it, you didn't really have the conviction of what you were saying at that particular point in time. Now to rein back from that shows a lack of honesty, a lack of transparency, and ultimately a lack of integrity when you say things and you don't mean them. And then on the flip side, with Caleb, on the one hand, you're doing the LeBron, I'm putting the crown on my head. If you're coming for the king, you best not miss, and all of this stuff. And this network is guilty of it just as much as everybody else, of feeding into all of that BS. And then when you want to take it all, and then you say, well, I don't listen to what sheep say because I'm a lion. Okay, well, guess what? The lion looked like a sheep last night, as far as I could see. So, it's easy to talk when you're winning. But then when you're losing, to not have the integrity to stand up there and be a man and take the criticism, acknowledge it, and then say we're going to get better from it, but to run from it and to ignore it and to pretend like it came from somebody else, to me, that ultimately, more than linebacker rotations, more than wheel routes, more than giving Marshawn Lloyd the ball more, to me, that is the biggest problem, is that you are totally fine taking the praise when everything is fine, and you're playing teams that are combined 3-19 to start the season. But the moment things get difficult, you run away from the things that you said or the things that you created. And let's not, I want to sort of revisit this point. Everyone said, oh, the kid from Notre Dame and, all of this stuff. And that kid from Notre Dame, the only thing he was responding to was, this is the same Heisman Trophy winner that said F whoever on his fingernails. Yep. You say all of that. You call yourself the king. You crown yourself. And then you don't not only not show up for 3 games, but then you're sort of talking about where is this all coming from? When your star quarterback and your head coach don't have the same level of accountability when they win versus when they lose, that's a problem.
Right. And so, and we addressed this on one of our podcasts, Jamal, and I addressed it too. This morning I was just looking through all of our stuff that we talked about, and a lot of stuff that I have to redact because I was, like you said, I was all for Caleb Williams. I've been for Caleb Williams. I could say at least, even last week I was like, he should be able to recover because we thought of how good he was, and I have to redact that. Caleb Williams has plateaued, right? And so I also said, like, there needs to be a change made, and it needs to be. We also said we need to flip the switch. This is a game that needs to flip the switch. The switch didn't flip. You know what I mean? Like, that comes from the top. That comes from the head coach. And Candace talks about this all the time. And she always says, you take on what your coach is, right? You're an identity of your coach. And I think at times, like, when your back is against the wall, that tells who you are as a coach. If I was in this situation after Notre Dame, let's just say I did get taken behind the barn shed and I'm the head coach at USC. Back to the basics practice. We're tackling at least up until Thursday. You know what I mean? Like, there's no shells. Like, we need to become tougher. We need to become a better football team. We need to start changing our language. We need to become way better. Maybe the model that you set as a team, the longer the game goes on, the better we become. That has not proven true yet. Right? Every time the game gets longer, you become worse. Are you not re-emphasizing what you're telling your team? Every time you get in front of a press conference, and last night, Notre Dame, Arizona, you act like, oh, it's okay. We're just going to brush it under the rug. No, you can't brush that under the rug because you need to change it. You get what I'm saying? You're keeping all these people out of your practice. Maybe you do need to open the practice because we need to see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's starting to become unacceptable as a head coach. Maybe you are, and I just saw this in the comments, maybe you are offensive coordinator, because I can tell you this much. Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, they might have botched their first head coaching jobs, but they understand what they did wrong, and they've gotten better. You get what I'm saying? Sark is on the way to trying to get his team to a college football playoff. One loss, and he's trying to get back with Oklahoma. Sark needed 1 year, and he's gotten better. Lane Kiffin had multiple head coaching stops, and he's gotten better. We're talking about Ole Miss. We're talking about Texas. Lincoln Riley is not getting better. Like you said, Jamal, Lincoln Riley does not want to be accountable. How are you going to say all this stuff? We're going to win a championship. The expectations are here, this and that. And then when you don't come true, you're like, oh, well, I didn't ever said that. You don't think your players are going to imitate that? Now your star player is saying, oh, I don't know where all this pressure is coming from. You should have told him to take Notre Dame off his nails. You should have told him to everything that was put on. If you want to paint your nails, that's fine. But stop disrespecting the other team. But then you say in your press conference, we respect every single team and this and that, blah, 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 this and that. You know why Caleb is allowed to say that? Because the head coach gets into a press conference like last night. Oh, these are two hard-fought teams. This is a heavyweight match, blah, 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 this and that. No, it was not. That's not true. It should have never been a heavyweight match. It should have been a heavyweight versus a light heavyweight because you should have kept punching them in the mouth. But, oh, yeah, well, we're just going to get better. We're still here. It's okay, guys. No, it's the pats on the back after doing something wrong. If I tell a child that you're wrong, but, oh, it's okay, and then all of a sudden they do it again, oh, it's still okay, you're going to get these results. And it's starting with Lincoln Riley. And the problem is, I'm not even a big money alumni, right? When the big money alumni start to see it, hey, guess what, Lincoln? They're going to call for your head. You get what I'm saying? Like, you think you're in a cush place because, oh, as long as we win 10, we're okay. As long as we're playing at New Year's 6, we're okay. As long as we win a Rose Bowl, we're okay. But what did I say in the podcast? I said, that's not going to last for long. Now you're putting a product on the field that as the same product as the guy that you replaced. You're not putting a good product on the field, and that needs to change. And if you don't change it, then you're going to get changed. And I don't think he understands that. I think he's so arrogant and he's so caught up. I think he's so much in his bromance with Cliff Kingsbury and Alex Grinch and all of his buddies. If I'm leaving Oklahoma and I'm taking a new job, I need a change. I can't bring everybody with me. I'm only going to bring the guys that matter. That's the strength coach and the O-line coach. Everybody else you need to interview, and you kept Dante on your staff. You still have the same problem. And I don't think he's understanding that. You have the same problem that you had in Oklahoma. You kept Dante on your staff. You have the same Clay Helton problem. You need to shake it up, and you need to fix it. If you don't fix it, you're going to be at another job. You won't get your contract, and once your contract is up, don't be surprised when Carol Folt says, oh, no, it's time to renew. We're not going to renew you. We're going to go find somebody better because there's a lot of better out there. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's the culture. When you get to the root problem of it, it's the culture, and there's a culture problem at USC, and he does not want to fix the culture. If you don't fix the culture of your football program and you keep patting on the back when something goes wrong, you're sitting up there coddling Caleb, and Caleb's been disrespectful, right? I'll give you a perfect example. My 9-year-old did disrespectful at school, and the kid wanted to beat him up. You know what I told my 9-year-old? I told him that's what you get. You want to talk, you got to cast a check, right? Caleb doesn't want to cast a check. Lincoln Riley doesn't want to cast a check. And now they're getting beat. And they're like, well, where's all this coming from? I don't get it. Why are you guys acting like this toward? Hey, you just bounced the check. That's insufficient funds. You owe us $25. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem, right? And it's legit, and it's out there, and it's apparent. And pretty soon the boosters are going to catch on. Pretty soon, Carol Folt's going to catch on. Pretty soon, Candace's best friend Jenny's going to catch on. And guess what? LA Times front page head paper. USC is not renewing contract with Lincoln Riley. And he's going to be like, well, where did it happen? Lincoln needs to look in the mirror, have some self-reflection, and figure out that he's a problem, and he created a very bad culture in his program. And if he doesn't do that, he has 2 more years in California, and he better be looking for an NFL job, or he better go look for an offensive coordinator job, because he will no longer be coaching at the Coliseum. Because right now, he doesn't deserve it. One thing I could tell you about Pete, because I played for Pete, Pete was humble. And when we got our butts kicked, Pete will tell you, we got our butts kicked tonight. Pete would come in the meeting room and tell us, we did not play well. We got our butt kicked. The only time Pete was like, oh, well, we played our best was Vince Young. He said, only time somebody will ever beat us is if somebody was greater than us when we play our best. And he said, Vince Young. Other than that, Stanford, when we lost, we got kicked out of practice twice. He said, that's on you guys. You guys didn't practice very well. Oregon State, you guys didn't travel very well. That's on you guys, and that's my fault, and we're going to fix that, and we're never going to have this problem again. Lincoln Riley refuses to fix the problem and act like everything is okay. It's not okay. You're the problem, Lincoln. You need to fix your culture now, or you're going to be unemployed. That's exactly where it is. I'll let you guys regress. I regress. I'm sorry. I've been upset since last night. You guys go ahead and fix it.
I'm good. We can end the show there. I'm good.
I think so, Fred. I think that's the way we end it. We both got everything we needed to off our chest, and we move forward. But absolutely, I think I'm not gonna sort of belabor the point, but we have to look beyond just the schematics, and you and I have kind of delved into that. But it is cultural. It is systemic.
Yeah. So I'm sorry we didn't get you guys questions. We'll get you guys questions next week. Hopefully we do have a true victory Sunday. We had a lot to get off our chest. We'll be recording tomorrow. I saw a comment. You guys are speaking facts. We don't sugarcoat anything. We'll post Tuesday. We're on the radio Friday at 5. It's the Mightier 1090. Ryan's been letting me say the Mighty. He hasn't corrected me once. Mightier 1090 Friday.
I just let you do your thing.
Friday, 5 p.m. We also post a game review. We got a lot of viewers. We topped this our best Sunday ever, 72. We thank you guys for joining. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Tuesday we'll post. Friday we post. Twitter, LAFB _ USC, all that good stuff. USC gets taken down. Oh, real quick. Let's touch this real quick. Do they stay in the rankings or are they gone?
They don't deserve to be a top 25 team. I think they'll stay in the rankings, but they do not deserve to be a top 25 team based on this resume. When your best win is against 4-3 Arizona in triple overtime at home, and you've played 2 ranked teams, and essentially outside of a Calen Bullock pick 6 and a Zach Branch punt return, you basically got your doors blown off both games. You do not deserve to be a top 25 team.
Ryan, they stay in?
Yeah, I don't think they deserve it, but Brett McMurphy released his rankings, and he's been one of the more critical ones, and he still had him at 25. So I think they slip in at 25, but they're not a top 25 team, right?
Yeah, I think they say 25 also. Yep. All right, we'll close it there. Hey, I appreciate you guys. If you have not subscribed, go to YouTube, subscribe right now. Go follow us on Twitter. Is it USC _ LAFB, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
USC _ LAFB. Same thing with Instagram, USC _ LAFB. Follow us. We post Tuesdays. We post Fridays. We do Victory Sunday, and we're happier when we win. But we're a little frustrated right now because we've been talking about this for a long time. Hopefully we get all you guys. Hopefully, hit the likes. Thanks, LV Raider 67. Hit the likes also. Hit the likes. Our goal is to try to get to 100,000 subscribers. We're trying to get the gold plaque. So help us get the gold plaque, you guys. You see Ryan's mirror? He's going to move it a little bit to the right. He's going to have that gold plaque up there. Help us get the gold plaque. We thank you guys for all your appreciation. We appreciate you everything you do. This meant to the Salute to Troy Bet Online podcast for a not so victory Sunday. You know how it goes. We'll see you guys Tuesday. Live free, fight on.